Hi readers, welcome back. It's Kim, the lifelong reader. Today I'd like to talk to you about 4 different books that I've recently purchased to bring into my home library. There's a purpose behind each one, and I'm looking forward to talking to you about that today. So let's talk about these books. The first book on that list is going to be Marilyn Robinson's Housekeeping. This is a short novel of only just about 200 pages, and Robinson published this way back in 1980. I purchased this book because it was referenced by Paul Harding, the author of Tinkers, that I recently read and loved. And he said that Marilyn Robinson was the writer in-house during his experience at the Iowa Writers Workshop. And he referenced her novel Housekeeping by name as one that he really enjoyed, and it drew him even closer to Robinson's writing. So of course, my curiosity was piqued about this novel. Now, I do have a copy of Gilead on my shelves by Marilyn Robinson, but I've yet to pick that up. So I am going to start with Housekeeping since it came so highly regarded by Mr. Harding. This novel is set in a glacial town, and it follows the lives of 2 young girls, 2 sisters, but it really focuses mostly on the sister named Ruth. These 2 girls are being raised first by their grandmother, then by their great aunts, and then eventually by their mother's sister, and their mother has passed away. So they are being reared by their Aunt Sylvia. The town they live in does have a little bit of a tragedy behind it. There was apparently a train derailment that took many lives of townspeople, and the train derailed into nearby Fingerbone Lake. So it has a little bit of a sad history, and also their grandfather died in that train derailment. So they are involved in that personally. What I really like about the blurb of this book is that it talks about Marilyn's ability to render in memorable detail the ceremonies through which the life of a household is sustained and the forces of nature by which it is eroded. So that sounds really good to me. On Goodreads, this is a 3.8. It's not quite a 4-star read, but when I look at the reviews, I do see that one of my favorite writers, who is a memoirist, her name is Elizabeth Andrews, she did give this 5 stars, but she was honest in her review, and she said that she has also loved Gilead and Lila by Marilyn Robinson, and that those 2 stories do stick with her more so than Housekeeping. And she feels like the writing in those novels is a lot more grown up than the writing in this novel. But nonetheless, I am excited to read this and have the experience of an early Robinson novel before I dive into Gilead. The next book is this book from 2016. It is called The Break, and it was written by Katherena Vermette, and she is a Canadian author. And I was interested in this book because a viewer here on the channel recommended it very highly to me as something she thought fit well within my reading taste. So of course, I was curious. This book also is one of a set of 3 companion novels, and I do enjoy reading series from time to time, and I thought it might be interesting to talk about this one on the channel in case any of you are really interested in series. So this novel takes place on some land where some indigenous Métis people are residing. And one evening, a mother named Stella is looking out her window onto the patch of land that houses the water towers that is called The Break. That's kind of its nickname. And she sees what she thinks is a crime taking place. So she reaches out to the police, which starts the narratives of this story. When the police start to investigate this crime, it brings together all different people from the neighborhood, and all of their narrative stories come together to form the basis of this novel, which leads us up to that activity that took place in The Break. Now, this is not going to be a cozy read, so I want you to know that if you are thinking about picking it up, It is supposed to be excellent writing, and from the little bit I've read so far, it does seem excellent. I did open the book to kind of sample it, but it does come with some trigger warnings that there are scenes of sexual abuse, and the book is about healing from abuse and vicarious trauma. So know that going in. This will not be a cozy read. It is over 300 pages. I think it's right around 355 pages. But it does sound like a heavy read, but a good read, and I am excited for that. The next book I want to talk to you about is maybe going to be a bit of a surprise. I kind of surprised myself by picking this up, but that is The Godfather by Mario Puzo. And this book was originally released in 1969, and believe it or not, folks, this book is on its 69th printing. At least that's what the interior of this book tells me. And probably everybody has heard of The Godfather because it was blown up into a very famous movie by Francis Ford Coppola, multiple award winner. It's kind of an iconic movie classic. And I'm sure over the years I have had my eyes on a TV set that was playing this movie, but the movie was notoriously violent. The book probably is too. But I'm really interested in this because recently, I read Nora Ephron's memoir, I Feel Bad About My Neck, and Other Stories About Being a Woman. And in that memoir, one of my favorite essays was called On Rapture, and it was about her love of reading. And she referenced this book by name in that essay, and it really made me think that perhaps it was something I wanted to pick up, because what she talks about is being in a romantic whirlwind with this book. And I thought, you know, I saw the violence in the movie. Maybe there are some romantic parts of this book, and maybe I'll fall in love with these characters. So in case you don't know, this book follows a mafia don, which is the head of a mafia family in Long Island, New York, and his name is Vito Corleone. And we are going to see how Vito runs his business. And according to the blurb, Vito has his hand in all different levels of American society, from the cop on the beat all the way up to the politicians. And I'm interested in seeing what this is like. I would love to hear if you've read it. Over the years, I have had friends that have read this and told me what a wonderful novel it is, but I was not interested in it after just knowing what I knew about the movie. So we'll see how this settles with me. I'm hoping it settles well. I would be interested to see if it's something you've read, if you want to leave me a comment, or if you know someone who's read it and loved it, to just encourage me a little bit more on picking it up. But this one I thought would be a really interesting departure from what I usually read. And the last book I want to talk to you about today is one that I have seen reviewed on BookTube several times, and honestly, that's why I picked it up. This is The Name of the Rose by Umberto Eco, and this has been called a Sherlock Holmes story in a monastery setting. It's historical fiction. It takes place back in the 1300s, and we have a monk that has come to a Franciscan monastery to investigate some claims of heresy. And while he is there, there are 7 mysterious deaths, and now he needs to unravel what's going on with these deaths. So it says that he brings his wry sense of humor and his curious sense of adventure to the investigation, and digs around in the abbey and all the dark corners and all the interesting things that happen at night. So when I read a little bit about what this book was about, I was kind of given thoughts of my experience when I read The Historian by Elizabeth Kostova a few years ago. I loved The Historian, and I'm getting a little bit of a vibe like that from this book. The reviews that I looked at on Goodreads also, this is a highly rated book. It's over 4 stars. However, some people do say that it has too much information in it. Too much information and not enough moving the plot along. But that is usually a clue to me that I'm really going to enjoy immersing myself in all of the history in this book, all of the detail of the medieval era, and I'm looking forward to that for sure. That is a quick look at 4 of the books that I've recently brought into the house. Have you read any of these? Are you interested in picking any of these up? Leave me a comment and let me know. Wherever you are today, I hope you're having a fantastic day. I look forward to seeing you again soon, and until I do, happy reading.